In a certain district, 20% of the voters are expected to vote for candidate A in an election. The computer program below is intended to simulate the result of the election with n voters and display the number of voters received by candidate A. Which of the following can be used to replace a missing condition in line 4 so that the program works as intended? Select two answers. So we need to replace the condition in the if statement so that it simulates a certain district where 20% of the voters vote for candidate A. So we need to display a sum that represents 20% of the time the sum is being increased. Because if 20% of the time only do we increase the sum by 1, that simulates how many candidates vote for candidate A. So what we need is, in this condition, to only be true 20% of the time, meaning the sum, which calculates the amount of votes candidate A receives, this line is only run 20% of the time. Because if the if statement is true here 20% of the time, then that means the sum is added, sum gets 1 added 20% of the time, and the remaining 80% of the time, the if statement is false, and we don't add 1 to the sum. And we're going to repeat this n times, which is for every voter. And each voter has a 20% chance for each voter to vote for candidate A. So we need to find out which one of these random statements here generates a true statement 20% of the time. So here, this random statement from 1 to 5 returns a random number from 1 to 5 and checks if it's equal to 1. So in this case, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 possible outcomes, and there is a 1 out of 5 chance that we get a 1. Meaning there's a 1 out of 5 chance this statement is true, because only in the case that random 1 to 5 returns a 1 is this statement true, because 1 equals 1. Any other number like 2 or 4 or any of the other numbers would result in this being false. So 1 out of 5, that's equivalent to 20%. So that means this statement here returns a true value 20% of the time. So that's good, because if this if statement is true 20% of the time, then only 20% of the time do we count an extra vote for candidate A, like the actual expectation is in the election. B says when random 1 to 5 is less than or equal to 2. So again, we have 5 different possibilities for the result of random 1 to 5, and return any whole number from 1 to 5. And only in the case that the number returned is less than or equal to 2 is this statement true. So that means when random 1 to 5 returns either a 1 or a 2, is this true? So this gives us a 2 out of 5 chance that the statement is true. And this is not equal to 20%. So 2 out of 5 is greater than 20%. That's 40%. So that means that this is not going to be true only 20% of the time. So this will add 1 to the sum 40% of the time. So it's going to overcount how many votes were given to candidate A. So C says random 1 to 10 equals 2. So this time we have 10 possible values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And only in the case that random 1 to 10 gives us a value of 2 is this statement true. Because when random 1 to 10 gives us a value of 2, 2 is equal to 2. So the if statement will be true and run the addition of 1 to sum. So this is a 1 out of 10 chance that the if statement is true, and this is equal to 10%, but this is smaller than the 20% that we need, so that means that the sum that we're going to display is actually going to be less than is going to be less than the expectation for the number of votes the candidate A will receive. So C is not correct. B says random 1 to 10. So again, 10 different possibilities for what random returns. And only in the cases that random 1 to 10 is less than or equal to 2 do we return true. So this means that when random returns either 1 or 2, does this expression return true? Because 1 is less than or equal to 2 and 2 is less than or equal to 2, but 3 is not less than or equal to 2, and the rest of the numbers are also bigger than 2. So that means there are two different values for when this expression is true. So that means there's a 2 out of 10 chance that this expression returns true, and 2 out of 10, that's equal to 20%. So again, this is correct because we need the if statement to be true 20% of the time, so that only 20% of the time do we add 1 to the sum of the votes for candidate A. So A and D give us a 20% chance of being true.